Good day, everyone. I'm Donna Ochoa, reporting under Group C, Module 9, Basic Radio Hardware. I shall be discussing Part 4A, Trends in Radio Production, and a glimpse of BBC radio broadcast. First of all, please allow me to share a few radio broadcasting milestones. First radio transmission was recognized in 1895 in England through Marconi, who is considered to be the father of radio. Radio broadcasts of music and talk were first heard within the 1920s, and it's also the birth of KDKA radio station in Pennsylvania, USA, and BBC Radio in UK in 1927. In the Philippines, the first two early radio stations were KZKM in 1920-22 and KZRC in 1929, both under the AM band. By the 1950s, all countries have a government-owned broadcasting system. This era also allowed commercial-sponsored radio stations to operate specifically in the US, wherein both AM and FM were used. In 1955, practically all households in North America, Western Europe, and Japan owned a radio. In the 1960s, the portable transistor radio was introduced that opened radio broadcast accessibility and was considered as a world breakthrough. In the 1960s, or in the 1970s through 80s, more music stations were established that placed jazz, country classical, and pop music over the FM band, while drama and commentary talk shows are in the AM band. In the Philippines in the 70s, there was the Canlaon Broadcasting System owned by a Marcos regime supporter, Mr. Roberto Benedicto, under DZRB, and DZRH under the Manila Broadcasting Company owned by the Elizalde family. Emergence of alternative radio AM outlets were also seen within the EDSA revolution in 1986, such as Radio Veritas, that was instrumental to outseat the Marcos dictatorship. On a lighter note, in the late 70s, technology advanced a bit more as listeners can incorporate play song requests through the telephone. Fans would phone in the DJs to play their song request, which was immortalized by the song Mr. DJ, popularized by Sharon Cuneta. In the 80s, the following commercial radio stations under the FM band were also in use, which is 88.3 City Light, 89.9 Magic, 93.1 Monster Radio, and the 90.7 Love Radio. Though format radio was introduced in the 1950s, it was in the 1990s where this was best exemplified by news, talk, and information radio show formats. Then came the most exciting part of the new millennium, the entry of internet radio and podcasting, also known as audio blogs. Traditional radio broadcasting is here to stay and is still very much alive. Let us explore the new ways and practices in audio broadcasting production. According to Lustria, Tabing, and Osalia, the emergence of digital and online radio has made enrichment possible in radio broadcasting. Let us tackle the first trend, presence of wide choices amongst digital devices. With so many choices in listening and content enhancement devices, both content creators and listeners can now align, air, and hear their preferences anytime, anywhere. There are also more streaming platforms which enable us to have online presence, allows a flexible listening experience, and can exercise listening on demand. The third is updated and more advanced technology or the use of digital audio broadcast. DAB Plus has allowed the transmission of audio signals in digital form in the airwaves, resulting to high quality audio reception, reliability, and creation of more radio stations. Program styling and format. Much of the program format, whether traditional or digital, will always be influenced by the personality of the presenter. This will still be maintained, however, we may see contrast in approach. Senator Kiko Pangilinan has a program in his website called Biyahe ni Kiko, wherein he talks about his advocacy in agriculture and farming, which answers the problem of hunger as it teaches us about self reliance. This can be found in his official website. It is straightforward and reliable. On the other hand, we also have Bianca Gonzalez's podcast, Paano Ba Ito? Which refers to new ideas of all ages on navigating real life issues towards achieving lifelong goals. This can be viewed or heard in the more sophisticated but most popular app, Spotify. As you can see, there is contrast in approach. Senator Kiko Pangilinan traditionally addresses his audience, which are the farmers and agriculture retailers, while Bianca addresses the younger generation using App of the Times, which is Spotify. Next is branding. Use of specific identity markers aligned with their target market. I think the best example for this is the Wish Bus of 107.5 FM radio. The use of the Wish Bus is very symbolic. It transports music anywhere, also with their battle cry, turning streets into stages. This allows connection to the target market, which is deliberate and really, really transcends across the market in a particular area or maybe even across the country. The next, and I think is the most important thing, is visual radio. Radio broadcasting is not merely about sounds anymore. It has already innovated with radio broadcasting technology, incorporating visual elements such as images, videos, and graphics with the assistance of multimedia. This is a major breakthrough as radio broadcasting has not only maintained relevance but has um, have gained a higher level of engagement and following. The next is the most popular, podcasting. This has made radio broadcasting available to the international stage and allowed presenter and content creators to earn through online engagement. One example is Karen Davila that tackles relevant topics regardless of personalities um, in our present generation. It has transcended to the most popular, to the most difficult, to the unpopular. The next is ad placements. This has allowed also for opportunities for retailers to advertise their products through collaborations, and the use of taglines and commercial jingles are used to air their content. Number nine is analytics. Both traditional and digital forms of radio broadcasting have taken advantage of this in order to measure market reach, but more so now due to social media interactions. Coming from BBC Radio Network, which has been an icon in the industry, let us look how they navigated success through the years. BBC Radio being available through different formats. We shall explore that in a few minutes. The station is also has also become very sustainable through commercials and advertising. They also use digital audio broadcasting, the use of the FM channel, convergence, collaboration, transforming an audio based technology into an audio visual medium. They also submit and follow radio regulations of Ofcom, making sure that broadcast code is upheld. In terms of radio media platform, they have several. I think this is very effective in how they present themselves as a radio network. The first is BBC Radio 1. They play music for the young with modern mix and language. The next one is BBC Radio 1 Extra. This is home for Black music and live performances in support of new UK artists. You see how inclusivity is at play here. BBC Radio 2 plays distinct music, speech, and service for listeners over age 35. The next is BBC Radio 3 for classical music and cultural entertainment. Moving on to a more serious platform, they have the BBC Radio 4, which delivers news, current affairs, sports, and weather. They also have the BBC Radio 4 Extra, creating entertainment and theme features for children. Moving on to BBC Radio 5, this is for live news and sports coverage. They also have the BBC Radio 5 Extra, bringing live and intense action to sports fans. They also have the BBC Radio 6 Music, which plays alternative music from 1960s to present. What is also interesting to note is that they have BBC Radio for the Asian Network, speech and music broadcast for British Asians, integrating news and current affairs. Last but not the least, they have the BBC World Service, provide world news with analytics. On to the succeeding slide, I will let you experience the smooth and efficient sound content of BBC Radio 4 News.
Ban the UN's Palestinian Refugee Agency from working in the country. The Chancellor has revealed more details about what's in tomorrow's budget for the NHS. In business, results just out for HSBC were better than expected, with a 10% rise in pre-tax profits. And in sport, Manchester United are in talks to appoint Sporting Lisbon's Ruben Amorim as their next manager. Israel's parliament has banned the UN's Palestinian Refugee Agency from operating in the country. Israeli MPs have accused UNRWA staff of involvement in the attacks of October the 7th and diverting aid in Gaza to Hamas. The agency provides aid, healthcare, and education to millions of Palestinians. The US and the UK are among the countries to have expressed serious concerns that the move will deepen the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. Julia, too.
With broadcasting networks like BBC Radio, its relevance, integrity, commitment to innovation, and quality of speech sound would ensure radio broadcasting's place into the future. On to the last slide would be my sources and references. That would be all for now. Thank you for listening.